Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Capricorn energy. And we're going to use this 10 card spread, and then we're going to kind of read it from a couple different perspectives. Because the cards, have different meanings, and, um, people are going to handle this energy differently depending on kind of their emotional maturity level and what kind of drives and motivates them and what their truth is. And in Capricorn energy, it can be about, shadowy Capricorns represented by the devil. We all tap into Capricorn energy, and we can align with our more worldly, shadowy nature. And it can be about immaturity, laziness, pride, ego, lust, greed, self indulgence, wanting to be indulged. You know, we've either freed ourselves from some of those things, and high vibe Capricorn talks about putting in work and effort to free yourself from those things. But some people can free themselves from some of their more immature ways of being also, but the truth could be that they're still more motivated by themselves or the world or being indulged, and it being a little bit more always about them. And other people have shed kind of that layer of themselves, and they're more about being authentic, being who they say they are, being inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness. And so we're going to read it kind of from those different perspectives. And you just need to listen to your intuition about who's who in your life. Who are the people who are who they say they are, who are more emotionally mature and authentic and loving, and who kind of wears a false mask a little bit. Okay, so I view this as the overarching reason for the reading, which is the Strength card, which is Leo energy. Again, we're either operating more from our ego, which can be just our defensive nature or worldly nature or whatever, or we've kind of tempered our ego and we're kind of more balanced within ourselves. That do we want these things of the world? Yes, but we also want to be in authentic, just, fair, loving relationships. And at the end of the story, we kind of have the Seven of Cups and the Five of Cups. Um, and the Five of Cups is Taurus energy, which is kind of our philosophy of life. We're going to move forward in whatever our philosophy of life is, what our truth is. Some people in the Seven of Cups are still kind of caught up in the illusion of themselves and the world, still got some lessons to learn. Might be shadowy Scorpio, a little more superficial and shallow. But if that's their truth and it's more about the ego and the image, they might just be willing to create an illusion of how wonderful their life is, even though they could feel left out in the cold, is also what the Five of Pentacles talks about. It might have all these things of the world, but it's lacking in deep, meaningful relationship, which is high vibe Scorpio. And some people are willing to sacrifice being in a more deep, meaningful relationship because they might not be a very deep, meaningful person anyway. And, it's more important to have this certain status or image in the world and have this power, influence, or if it's them being indulged or them indulging someone else in order to have these things in the world, if that's how they view life and relationships, that's a shadowy Taurus relationship. Whoever has more of these things in the world that someone wants, that person is the person who gets to be more indulged in a relationship. And a high vibe relationship is supposed to be just and fair and based on truth and love. And we all bring things that are valuable to the relationship. Some people might have more status, image, power, influence, attractiveness, charm, education. Other people might be very loyal, committed, loving, supportive, and encouraging. We want a mix of all those things, and we can all bring a different mix to it. And those people do want deep, meaningful relationships, and they keep moving forward in their life, willing to learn lessons. The Five of Pentacles talks about letting go of an old foundation in high vibe, but that means you have to get out of your ego to learn lessons in life to keep where you keep moving forward and kind of growing and healing and maturing yourself. growing to like your full potential to shine your authentic light in the world. And other people are like, let's just keep moving forward the way we've been moving forward. I don't want to do things any differently. I don't want to face my fears. I don't want to work through my emotional confusion. Let's just keep doing things the way we've been doing it. And then it can kind of stay kind of stagnant and stale because people aren't growing and maturing themselves, maybe out of ego or defensiveness. So we start out with a card not showing itself. What is that? The Page of Swords. Well, high vibe people quit aligning with their more immature view of life. The Page of Swords in Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra energy, we all, Leo is fire sign energy, we're all initially pretty fired up by the world, and we are kind of immature in our thinking, logic, and reasoning, and maybe don't look at life from the bigger picture just because we got all these life lessons to learn, right? And we're pretty caught up in the world, and we're sure if we make our life about those things of the world, we're going to be happy. Well, some people have a little more life experience, and they've kind of realized when they made their life just more about them or these things of the world that they thought were going to make them happy, they kind of realized maybe they weren't seeing things from a higher perspective. They were caught up in the illusion of the world because Taurus energy can represent all these institutions of the world. And they also could have found out that when I did make my life more about me and all these things of the world and all these things that I thought would make me happy, I could have had all those things. It could have looked like I had what everybody in the world could want. Leo energy, it looks really great. But people kind of felt, up here we have the Nine of Swords, which is kind of feeling and maybe listening to your intuition that, is there more? Maybe, you know, the Nine of Swords is Gemini energy about our free will, and there's a maximum of 10 in every suit, and that's at a 9. That is kind of like, are we going to keep growing and healing and maturing ourselves and keep being inspired to work together cooperatively from love? And sometimes we find out that some of the people in our life are like, no, I'm good. Let's keep doing this. And it's like, I kind of feel like, it's just like the Five of Pentacles can feel like it's not as abundant as it could be. Um, and it can be, again, that we have all these things, but is it kind of lacking in that final sword of maybe equal give and take, maybe a deep, meaningful relationship? It might have everything else, but is there a more equal give and take? The Six of Pentacles is also Taurus energy, where it can feel like we're exchanging resources in a job, a friendship, or relationship, but it can kind of feel more transactional, like the illusion of love, but not love, and maybe not anymore. And, if people are willing to maybe get out of their defensiveness and work through their fears and maybe get more balance within themselves and Scorpio energy and high vibe, besides deep meaningful relationships versus a more superficial shallow relationship, it can be about willing to explore the mysteries of life emotionally, and that's getting to know ourselves better. Why do I maybe feel stressed out? Why do I maybe feel, up here we have the Hangman, why do I feel stuck? Why do I kind of feel left out in the cold? Well, we can blame everyone else, or we can do work within ourselves. The fives also talk about change. The only person I can change is me. I could blame everyone else, but what about me? What's my truth? How do I want to move forward? What are my dreams? What kind of relationship do I want to be in? What about the people I'm in relationship with? How do they want to move forward? What are their dreams and aspirations? Are we even speaking the truth? Are we talking to each other? Page of Swords can kind of reference that. Then we have the Eight of Pentacles and the Knight of Cups. You know, sometimes we could have gotten in relationships with people because we did feel left out in the cold. Something else didn't work out. There could have been someone else we were in a relationship with, and we thought a dream was going to come into reality, and then it didn't work out. And we can all be a little bit in our ego about things like that. And some people right now kind of be in their ego about stuff like that. Well, what do we do when things didn't work out the way we wanted and we feel a little bit left out in the cold? Well, let's work through this scenario. If a person decided, instead of aligning with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature within ourself, our own page of swords of hope and faith and belief in our dreams and love for ourself, that would be an option. But some people never really have done that much in their life. And so they're probably not going to keep doing that. And they're probably going to invest more in taking action more out of defensiveness or ego or I just want to feel better now or in competitive energy or jealous or envy or lust or greed, right? So those people might reject the truth. The truth sets us free to live our life differently. But some will keep repeating an old pattern until we're willing to see the truth of how we might have some growing up and healing and maturing to do. Some of the people we get in relationship with do, and just deal with the truth of it. But some people still don't want to see the truth of it. So they decide they're going to put in work and effort to maybe get in a new relationship, to have a new beginning. Maybe with someone who they think could be stuck. Someone in the Queen of Wands who they think um and the Queen of Pentacles, male or female, this could be emotionally, because these are feminine figures and that can talk about how we think and feel. Someone who they think is maybe more, might feel stuck, is what the hangman can talk about, and might be someone who wants to be in a relationship. And they'll go make an offer to that person to go have a new beginning with that person. But for some of the people, even if they go get in that new relationship, they might know that they're not really in the relationship. In high vibe Gemini, it's not based on truth and love. It could be more out of fear and insecurity and stress. And will I have someone to exchange resources with and move forward with? And that can be the driving factor why they get in the relationship. And, you know, it's kind of not, it's kind of like creating the illusion that it's love, but it's driven more by these other reasons. And then if they move forward in relationship with people like that, depending on the people they're in a relationship with, if those people are like, oh my goodness, thank goodness you came to have a new beginning with me because I've been really stressed about if I'd have someone to exchange resources with and I really want to be in a relationship and I'm maybe operating more from my ego or my fear or my codependency, yes, I'll get in a relationship with you. Well, then those people get in a relationship and is trying to move forward when both people are kind of operating from a little bit of a lack mentality or a fear mentality or, you know, and I think eventually when they're in the relationship, one of them might end up kind of getting, whenever we get in a relationship, just like we've gotten in friendships with different people at different times in our life, we can get in relationships with people for a lot of reasons and we can come together with other people because we've got some similar issues or viewpoints in life. I'm just thinking back to like when we were young and junior high and high school and friends that we kind of hung around with and why we chose those people versus other people, right? Well, we can all get in a relationship for whatever reason we might get in one, right? But it can provide a sense of stability. And we do have other people that we're working with from the 8 to the 5, you know, that we're working with people and we could be working with people and we could be kind of loving and encouraging to them and they can be kind of loving and encouraging to us. And, it kind of provides an environment that While some people are in an environment that does seem like it's kind of supportive and encouraging, regardless of why we got in it, right? That they could take some time to kind of work through some of their fears, their insecurities, their emotional confusion about issues from their past. And they could kind of do some work within themselves emotionally, kind of get inspired in fire sign energy of the Queen of Wands to in the Queen of Pentacles to kind of maybe heal from some issues in their past. It's just like when we got in friendships, if we were 15 years old or 18 years old, we got in relationships with certain people. And in that community of that environment, so long as it seems like whatever issues we got or we might have in common, that we're kind of being supportive and encouraging of each other. And the thing that can be different is that when some people are in that environment, they do kind of get inspired to work through some of their issues because they want to not have those some of those things, that the baggage that they might have brought in to the relationship that they might not have told people about. They want to work through those things. They don't want to keep whatever those issues were, kind of keep manipulating them. So sometime during the course of that friendship or relationship, from the 1 to the 9, they kind of work through some of these things that maybe used to kind of have them up in their head a lot. Again, fears, insecurities, emotional confusion, different people that we've been in a relationship, and why didn't those people like me? Why weren't those people more just or fair? How was I kind of not just and fair or prideful or bossy or whatever? They kind of work through some of those issues. And then in the 6 of Pentacles, it can talk about how they kind of get more balanced within themselves. And then they probably did do some work to work through their emotional confusion. Scorpio talks about the fact that we're this emotionally complex human being. We can have a lot of contradictory thoughts and feelings towards people. I hate them, I love them, I don't ever want to talk to them, I hope they call me tomorrow. You know, and then we also can get ourselves into relationships, and we can think that other people think like we think, and then we kind of find out that other people don't think like we think. And if you're someone who's kind of motivated and inspired by love, and you put a lot of work and effort into love, and you try to look at things from other people's perspectives, and well, sometimes we can get in relationships with people, and then we find out that they might like to be in relationships, but they have a harder time and maybe lack interest in trying to see things from other people's perspectives. Emotionally, they could be more inspired to be in the relationship for the benefits and how it benefits them and enjoy it, but not really, and maybe not do any of this work within themselves. I might have some of my fears, my insecurities, my issues that have affected me, but I just want to ignore it. I don't want to deal with the truth of it. And so, but if they have issues that kind of affect the hangman in Pisces energy, which is emotional water sign energy, and what our hopes and dreams are, and kind of the illusions that we've had and the confusion maybe that we've had in our life, they just think, no, kind of, it can also be a prideful card. Nope, I'm not going to deal with it. I don't have to look at it. That's right. They don't have to if they don't want to, but it kind of affects their perception of and that's what the Pisces hangman can be, how you view the world, how you view yourself, how you view others, kind of what you think is just and fair in a relationship, if you have more hope and faith and belief in yourself or in love. And for the people who are like, nope, I'm not going to deal with it, I don't have to deal with it, Do I want to be in relationships? Can I kind of be a loving and encouraging and supportive person in a relationship? Yes. But it's kind of like they can't move forward because they didn't complete a cycle. You have to kind of learn the lesson you were meant to learn from a previous cycle to actually really authentically move forward. And that being the truth of who you are. You have to see the things that you need to detach from and let those go to really authentically move forward in life. You can try to fake it, but that gets difficult, right? And sometimes when people haven't dealt with some issues that they need to deal with, there can be more fear when they're in relationships that maybe they have a fear. The Five of Pentacles can talk about like fear of abandonment, not feeling good enough. Well, if we dealt with some of these issues from our past and tried to look at them from a different perspective, we can all have worked with people that were more prideful, stubborn, manipulative, bossy, controlling, stressed out, like to live more from their mind than their heart, were more about themselves, were more about the world. If we are willing to, as we kind of get older and we kind of learn more about life and, you know, um, we can kind of realize in our own interactions with people that, just seeing from all the different people that we've met that everybody has free will to choose to be whatever type of person they want to be, work through what they want to work through, be more just, be more fair, be more loving, be more nurturing. But in order to be that, they would have had to work through these issues to authentically be that type of person. And kind of when we look at life from a different perspective or their perspective, especially now that we can be older, and if we're looking back at some issues of when we were young, we kind of know a little bit more about life now because now we're an adult and we have these responsibilities and we've kind of made the decisions we've made and we've gotten in relationships that we've gotten into, and some of those friendships and jobs and relationships we got into, we felt stuck. But then because we made a commitment to it, we maybe stayed in it, and maybe some of the people in our life had fear of becoming independent of some commitments or jobs or relationships they were in. High vibe energy is just being more independent, excuse me, of your fearful nature, codependent nature, egoic nature, status image nature, and all those things. We all want those things. And so sometimes people stay in friendships or relationships or jobs that they don't really want to be in. And then we're in those relationships and we can feel like, why are people staying in this? Or this isn't how I want to live my life, or whatever. Anyway, um, but some people do that work to free themselves from some of those things that manipulate them. They get more balanced within themselves. They do have still more hope and faith and belief in themselves and in their dreams. And they also could be more connected in with themselves emotionally, where some people are like, nope, that's not my truth. And I'm going to live more from my mind than my heart. And I don't want to connect in with myself emotionally. I am an emotionally complex person. I find it confusing. I have chosen to live more from my mind than my heart. And then we're just kind of in these more mismatched relationships. And if some people are happy not doing anything different, like living their life a certain way, even though they could kind of feel stuck, to move forward in life differently and face some of their fears of stepping outside their comfort zone. For some people, they get so caught up in their head, it's like, no, just forget it. Let's just keep doing this. And other people are like, Can't we do something different? Can't we have some hope and faith and belief just to kind of, I don't know, but to step outside our comfort zone, we do kind of have to be inspired, maybe in our philosophy of life, because I view the Queen of Pentacles as Taurus energy also, to be someone who is willing to be more bold, brave, confident, face their fears. And for some people, that's just not the truth of who they are. And they're much more comfortable always staying in their comfort zone. And for some of the people in your life who you think, as you were working with them and trying to see things from their perspective and moving forward and maybe wanting to be in a more committed relationship, or if it's a job, to keep moving forward in it. But maybe as time went by, you kind of became illuminated that the other people maybe do have a lot of fears and insecurities about being more independent, of detaching from, some other foundation in their life, whether that's a friend or family group, and being more independent. They might want to keep exchanging resources, time, energy, and effort, and keep being in the relationship, but you kind of got the feeling this is going to be it, like forever. They're not inspired to ever just kind of be more independent, of being more emotionally invested in living more from their mind than their heart, or um, maybe just indulging in the relationship, and we don't really move forward in a more deep, meaningful relationship. um, or we just never move forward, kind of really bringing the dream into reality. It's like the illusion was created that, oh, we'll bring a dream into reality, but they want to keep staying here. And it's like, what about this? And they're like, no, we should keep doing this. And so for some people are in that situation right now. And again, when we're in that kind of situation, we kind of don't want to see the truth, because we're kind of stressed out about, if I were to illuminate the truth, that I feel kind of stuck, and and I could be stressed about being independent of it. We'll keep putting in work and effort to make it work until, we just can't ignore the truth anymore. I can't keep doing this. And sometimes we could be in a relationship with people who are hiding that they're kind of more immature in their thinking and their logic and their reasoning. And they might look very stable and abundant and all these things, but really they're kind of quite more immature. And that's just kind of how they present themselves in the world. But it's operating more from ego, but emotionally, they're more emotionally invested in operating from their ego. And so then it's just kind of this illusion they create that they're more emotionally mature and stable and grounded and all those good things than they really are. And then sometimes you find out the truth about that, and that still can cause you stress because you took the job, you got in the relationship, you know, and we want those things and we'd like them to work out the way we want, but we kind of got to get out of our ego. I can't make someone look at life differently. I can't make someone get out of their head. I can't make someone grow up. I can't make someone be more independent. I can't if somebody's just more motivated to be more about themselves, and the ego and the image is the reason they want to be in relationships and stay in relationships, and they think that's why you should stay in it because that's their truth. The most important thing is to be in a relationship. It's good for our ego and our image. And if it looks good by worldly standards, we should stay in it. It's like, I don't want to be in a relationship for those reasons. And then those people can't understand. I don't understand why not. I'm confused. Because that's how they view life. And then they can't understand because that's how they view life. That was not, they weren't showing that that was their truth. But that is how they could view life. We should get in a relationship because we feel stuck or out of our fear or want to be in a relationship. We want it to look good by worldly standards. Let's stay in it, even though it's maybe not love, even though it's not maybe a deep, meaningful relationship, even though we both might feel stuck. We should stay in it anyway and just keep moving forward like this. They would. They want to. And other people are like, that's not why I want to be in a relationship with someone. And for some people, that is their idea of the dream life. That's how they like to live their life. I like to be a more emotionally shallow. I like to make my life about these things. I like to live more from my mind than my heart. And they're just looking for someone who agrees with them or maybe lives their life like that. And some people are like, that's not my truth. I'm leaving. And so then, and some people could be doing that right now. And when some people were going to leave, they maybe had to work through the pages can represent our more codependent nature. I was looking to be in a relationship with someone, maybe because I hadn't learned to love myself. And maybe I felt stuck about believing in myself and believing in my dreams and hadn't really learned to emotionally nurture and love myself, to believe in myself and work through my fears and insecurities. And I got in relationships with people thinking they were going to be the answer to me working through those things. And, and being in relationships and friendships with people, if we are using those, well, I don't like to use the word using, of course, but when we're in relationships, which I think is a normal thing to do, that it provides an environment for us to do this work within ourselves. And I think high vibe people offer love and encouragement to people in their life to do those things. And sometimes some people could have felt like the people they were in relationship with seemed to be more stable, grounded, emotionally mature than them. And they could have been afraid, if I don't do some of this work within myself, I don't think this person's going to keep putting up with my ass. And so then you do that work within yourself. And then the person you're in a relationship is stressed out because now you're more balanced. And they could have liked it when you actually were more immature or codependent because they like to play that role in people's life. They kind of like to be in relationships with people who might have a lack mentality, who might have abandonment issues or knowing their worth and value. And then they can present themselves as this enlightened, nurturing, loving person, but then they want you to keep staying in more codependent energy. And some people like that type of relationship. And then if the people in their life do this work within themselves to work through some of their issues, and then they want, in high vibe Six of Pentacles, a more just and fair and kind of balanced relationship, and they don't want a more codependent relationship like you're my parent and I'm your child when we're relationship partners, right? It's kind of like, no, let's do more equal give and take. I've grown up and matured myself. I don't need you to play that role in my life. Well, then some people don't like that type of relationship because they liked it when it was the way it was. And in order for them to do a more just, fair, balanced, more deep, meaningful relationship, they would kind of have to work through why they like that other kind of relationship. And they might not want to see that they like, you know, some people like people to be codependent on them because I don't know, maybe it kind of boosts their ego, like, um, oh yeah, look, they're more immature. Oh, look, yep, they did that again, and kind of boost their ego that they're this better person or something. Um, but then to do a more equal give and take relationship, and they were maybe never planning to do that type of relationship or a more deep, meaningful relationship. That would require them to have to detach from this old way of interacting in relationships that they could enjoy and do things differently. And some of them are like, I don't want to do that. And maybe I'll create an illusion about why I don't want to do that. and let you go. And I might not tell the truth, with this card not showing itself, about why that relationship didn't work out. And then they could go back to go try to find someone else who they think might feel stuck, who might be stressed, who, and try to get that person in a relationship. And again, try to present themselves like, I'm this a loving, nurturing person, which in a lot of ways they could be a loving, nurturing person. But they could always be someone who's stressed out that other people will reconcile themselves with issues within themselves and free themselves from things that manipulate them to move forward in life, because they could have some issues that they, and it could be that again that they're more codependent on their ego, their defensive nature, other people in their life that they're not willing to become more independent of. And so if someone has that, they're more about themselves, they're kind of immature, or they're more about the world or the ego and the image, don't want to be more independent of their worldly egoic philosophy of life. They of course don't want to tell people, well, I'm really kind of more about these things, and that person wanted to do a more equal give and take, deep, meaningful relationship. They're not going to tell people that. That's why I didn't move forward with them. What? You had someone in your life who was willing to work with you, was willing to try to see things from your perspective, and was loving and encouraging and supportive. But we all kind of could have been there. I think when we haven't really learned to love ourselves, we can get in relationships where we're kind of repeating an old pattern where um, I can be a loving and nurturing person to people, but if people want to love me and treat me the way I treat them, I'm not used to that. That's like outside my comfort zone. I'm used to this. So I'm going to go find someone. And it's like me trying to help them, maybe being loving and encouraging, but I can feel stuck in the relationship because they are who they are. And, you know, it really shouldn't be about getting in a relationship and trying to change other people, just like we probably don't want to get in a relationship and where we're someone's project where they want us to change, right? And so, kind of as we repeat those patterns, eventually we can kind of be awakened to the truth that I am a loving, maybe nurturing and supportive and encouraging person, that maybe I really have a fear of being in a relationship with someone who kind of challenges me to, I'm not trying to change someone else, and it kind of requires me to deal with my fears and my insecurities and whatever, where I'm the one who has to change. So being in a relationship with someone who treats us the way we treat them, it's going to challenge us in a way. The other relationship could challenge us in other ways, but this would really challenge us to step out of that pattern, step out of our comfort zone, and be in relationships with people. We also might not be used. You can be a very loving person, but you can get in relationships with people who are more immature, more prideful, more defensive. And then, you could kind of realize that, this is a more deep, meaningful relationship that challenges me to grow and heal and mature myself. So that's why some of the people you can be drawn and attracted to, you could have that in common. It's just that some of the people that you got in relationship with, you always kind of had hope, maybe. And that can be a thing too of like, unless I put a lot of work and effort to help someone heal or grow or mature themselves, then they should love me or something. Like I have to work for people to love me. People just can't love me. It's like, what? And you could get in relationships with other people who kind of seem to be, you don't think of it that way. You just think that they're a loving and encouraging, supportive person. But then the difference is you kind of were always hoping people would maybe heal and grow and mature themselves, and other people could hope you never would. Or get out of your more codependent energy or more immature nature, and they were hoping you never would, you know? So I think some high vibe people, if there's some people in your life who you know are more, operate more from pride and ego, or more materialistically motivated, or like to be in more codependent relationships, um, you work through that issue within yourself so you could get out of codependent energy, and you put in this work and effort to love and believe in yourself, temper your own fears and insecurities, got more balance within yourself. You know from life experiences that you do want a more deep, meaningful relationship. And so when you detach from being in a more immature or codependent way of living life or viewing life, kind of those people also kind of fell out of your life because you weren't on the same page anymore. And you obviously could have just cut some of them out of your life. And now you're putting in work and effort to love yourself, maintain balance within yourself. Um, Again, love yourself, keep looking at life from high vibe, hangman of the awakening card of can be, I need to expand my perception of myself and the world around me and what I believe is possible, because that's what limits me, you know. So much of our viewpoint in life is based on what we think, and when I offer myself love and encouragement of what I believe can be possible in my life, it opens up the range of potential in my life, because I'm not, I'm opening myself up to the possibilities. And also, this could be starting more to listen to your intuition, which is a gift that we've been given, and our creative, inspired nature, and investing maybe in our own unique talent, skills, and interests, and loving and believing in ourselves, and doing this work to close out an old cycle, because you do want to have this new beginning, and it's continuing to put in the work and effort to stay focused on looking to the future, working with the people in your life who do work together with you in this way. And I think high vibe people are going to detach from an old cycle, because they did work through all the mental and emotional confusion of it to learn the lesson that they were meant to learn. And part of that is to put in work and effort. If you know you put in work and effort from love and try to see things from other people's perspective, and that during the process you emotionally grew and matured yourself and tempered some of your fears and your defensive nature and your more immature nature and whatever, you're ready for a more mature relationship. And you don't want to repeat some of these old patterns. And as you keep doing that work and listening to your intuition about the different people in your life as you're moving forward, um, I think you will detach from this old pattern, and it's kind of like you get set free because you were illuminated to the truth of what you were to learn at that phase of life, and you get to move forward. And I think you will be happy that you put in this work and effort to look at life differently and to love and believe in yourself. Because when you quit investing your time, energy, and effort into the people in your life who were being more maybe stubborn or manipulative or more materialistically motivated or prideful or fearful or whatever, and started to invest in yourself and investing in other people who you thought were more on the same page as you, I think you're going to be happy that you were willing to deal with the truth. And there might be some people you might be concerned about because, whether it's your brother, sister, adult children, parent, friend, family member, we can always be concerned if they're ever going to grow up or mature themselves or get more balance within themselves. But, we're all on our own journey in life and we've all had to learn lessons the hard way. We can still be a loving and encouraging person in people's life, but, I'm going to focus more of my attention on the people who are working together and moving forward with me in this way. And we can have some people in our life who are really stressed out about us doing that because they wanted us to keep repeating this old pattern with them. And it's like that phase is kind of over, like say if it was a child, you're an adult now. Can I be a loving, encouraging person in your life? But if you want me to keep interacting with you and you kind of being more immature and codependent when like you're some 15-year-old and you're a 30-year-old, no, I'm not going to keep doing that, and I'm moving on and that phase is over. Let's move on. And they might have a lot of fear of the fact that just the relationship dynamic has changed. And there could be other people who, if it's not a friend or family member that's a romantic interest, there could have always been people who kind of wanted to be in a relationship with you, and that if you ever got out of one other relationship, they would want to be in a relationship with you. But if you communicated with them or they communicated with you, they were still thinking you were kind of more in this energy in a more shadowy way, like maybe the way you used to be when you knew them or before you got in that other relationship. But now they see that you aren't the same person. And then that's different. That's like, well, if you had been the same person you were before, I would have stayed in a relationship with you or wanted to get in a relationship with you. I wanted to be like maybe the next person to indulge in a relationship with you, not knowing your worth and value or in your lack mentality or indulging people in poor behavior. But now you're more balanced and you don't want to repeat that cycle. Then some of those people have to think about, are they willing to be in a relationship with you now that you're not the same person you used to be? And they might have to look at life differently and temper their ego or their fears, and anyone else you meet. Everybody can be used to being in relationships with some people who live their life a certain way or think certain things are just and fair, or it's more about them, or it's more about being in a relationship to be in a relationship. And then they see that that's not where you're at, but they see and are enlightened to the fact that you are male or female, you're more emotionally mature, stable, and grounded, and aligned with truth and love and equal give and take in a relationship, not wanting to just indulge in something. Well, then they have to decide if they're willing to do that, because maybe they weren't really thinking they wanted to be in a more deep, meaningful relationship, and you're not going to be in a relationship with them if they're not. Go enjoy being in a relationship with someone else and go create your illusion with someone else. I'm moving on. So, people who harness high vibe Virgo energy, which anybody can harness, which is about putting in work and effort to love themselves, work through their fears and insecurities, are willing to look at life differently because they were inspired to emotionally grow and mature themselves and temper their ego, because otherwise they're going to keep, you know, kind of being in relationships with people who view relationships the way they do, where it is more transactional and it's more of an illusion, and people are in the relationship for reasons other than love. And if they want to be in a relationship based on truth and love, they're going to have to work through their fears and insecurities about being more authentic and just and fair and loving. And some people will do it and some people won't. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Capricorn energy that they might not see coming up as they're moving forward? And also, as you go out in your life, we can all be used to kind of hanging around certain people. As you go out in the world, you could also see other people who are more inspired, creative, confident, nurturing, loving, less from their ego. And it kind of makes it easier. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to work and hang out with these people and get to know more people like this than some of the people I had been hanging out with. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Capricorn energy? Okay. Justice. Why? Because of the King of Pentacles. I do view the King of Pentacles as Capricorn energy. And the masculine figures can represent how people present themselves in the world, male or female. In shadow, it can be that they're operating more from their egoic nature. So the masculine is how we present ourselves in the world. When we go take action and present ourselves in the world, it's considered masculine energy because people don't really know how we think and feel. High vibe people did the work to free themselves from things that manipulated them. They are who they say they are, male or female. They are balanced within themselves. High vibe Libra. And I think because high vibe Taurus talks about acting with character and integrity, high vibe fire sign energy, and high vibe Pisces, Scorpio, Virgo, Pisces, high vibe Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. You have done this work to free yourself from some things that manipulate you and to stand up for yourself. And you can look at the masculine card too, is that in our more worldly nature, which is what the masculine cards can represent, we also have to stand up for our more emotionally intuitive, loving nature, whether we're male or female. We have to appreciate and love ourselves enough that if I'm a nurturing and loving person, I deserve to stand up for myself and my truth and what I think is just and fair, because other people are standing up for their truth and what they think is just and fair. And maybe before we really didn't appreciate what we brought to the table, maybe didn't think we deserved to really be in a more just and fair and balanced relationship, maybe thought we were supposed to kind of indulge people. And I think as you're moving forward in that energy, I think because you're walking the talk, you're acting with character and integrity, everybody knows you could have taken action more out of pride, ego, competitive energy, lust, greed, fear, codependency, and you didn't. There's definitely going to be some people who are going to want to work with you in friendships, workplaces, and relationships because they know you are who you say you are and that you are this emotionally mature, stable, grounded, loving person. You're not operating from your ego. You're not creating an illusion about who you are. You're not trying to manipulate people. You're being authentic and loving and warm. And there's going to be some people that are like, yeah, I want to be in a relationship with you or a friendship with you or go into business with you or promote you or hire you. I think you're going to get the justice. That's how you get justice. When you align with being in that energy within yourself, because that's the type of people you want to be in a relationship with, you see the people in your life who aren't in that energy. You offered them truth and love to work together with you in that way, and they could have chose not to. So it's like, I wish you peace. I'm moving on. What's coming up for some people who harness some more worldly, shadowy Capricorn energy, who are maybe trying to present themselves as that type of person, but from shadowy Leo energy, from ego, is trying to create that illusion. So people will get in relationship with them, or promote them, or hire them. But it's not the truth. Emotionally, they're more invested in operating from being about themselves or the ego or the image or the status or how it benefits them, not really authentically being motivated to work together with people cooperatively in a just and fair, authentic way. It's more for how it benefits them. What's coming up for them? They don't see the Queen of Wands, the King of Pentacles, the Ace of Pentacles, and the Ten of Swords. And the reason is because of the Four of Pentacles. So the Four of Pentacles is also Capricorn energy. So some people can try to create this illusion from their ego that I'm this emotionally stable, grounded, mature person. You should move forward with me, your dreams will come into reality. But then they hold back from closing out a cycle. That would be if we add in high vibe, the Ace of Pentacles is like truth and love. Truth and love, that truth to close out an old cycle, to move forward. But they're not really willing to do that. Let's get in the relationship and just keep doing this, and we never move forward any differently. Let's keep doing this. Let's never really give birth to that new thing. Don't you want to stay in the relationship because of the fear or the insecurity or the pride or the ego, afraid of ending it? And that's sometimes what people are counting on. You don't love and believe in yourself. We're tempted in our worldly egoic nature to want these things of the world. And that's what they're counting on. And because some people are doing that, what they don't see coming is some people in their life are saying, I'm done. I'm not going to keep investing in this because it keeps getting shut down. It keeps not moving forward. So instead, I'm going to invest in ending it and holding back from you. And I'm going to move on. I'm going to close out this cycle. And sometimes the shadowy people did not see that coming because they're manipulated by all these things and all these people and their ego and fear or whatever, or codependency. They never free themselves from it. So they never thought other people would. And even if they were backstabbing and betraying people, and, because that's what they can do to try to stop people from moving forward. I'm going to invest emotionally in being more stubborn and prideful and manipulative. I don't think they'll love and believe in themselves. I think they'll keep doing it the way I want to do it. And eventually, some people see the truth of it. They didn't want to leave, they wanted it to work out, but they keep trying to move it forward, and the other person keeps saying no. So eventually, people are like, okay, you do you, and you keep moving forward the way you want to move forward. And I'm going to be inspired to love and believe in myself, to accept the truth. This is over. And you're not willing to open up. You're not willing to be more authentic or loving. You keep investing in living more from your mind than your heart and not opening up. So I'm going to let you do that with someone else. And those people are going to go on this journey to go find people in the world who are more willing to be more authentic and loving and nurturing and supportive. Some of those people, as they're kind of doing this work to maybe build up their courage, they're could be stressed out that maybe other people have already moved on. Maybe they're already in a relationship. Will they find someone? But they're not going to give up on their dreams because they don't want to go back to being in a relationship with people who could have presented themselves as loving, but then as they got in the relationship, the people they saw the truth that they were more defensive or prideful or bossy or controlling or stubborn, and then the person was stressed out about getting out of it, but eventually people are like, I can't, and sometimes it's like that always was their truth, but so it's like that's not just and fair. You're supposed to work cooperatively with people, not try to manipulate them, not do a bait and switch and like, oh, present myself this way, and then, oh, once I got you in it, oh, by the way, this is how I really am. Well, that's like fraud. And some people aren't going to stay in it. But they're always going to have people in their life and people who are willing to maybe be in a relationship with them because that's how they view life too. Or they just have lessons to learn from these people too. And some of those people were the next person to learn about this person not being who they thought they were, who were presenting a false front. some of those people could be getting out of the relationship with them right now. And again, some of these people, they might have this viewpoint of life just because maybe they have a certain status or image or attractive or charming or whatever. And they just can't understand why people don't want to keep staying in a relationship with them. You know? But they're kind of selfish. They're a little bit more about themselves. But they might not want to see the truth of it. Or they think, well, because of these other things, and I do maybe act this way and treat you that way, in good ways, I don't understand why it's not good enough. Well, they might be someone who really, again, doesn't really want to do a more deep, meaningful relationship. So for them, it's fine. But for other people, they are inspired to be in more authentic, loving, deep, meaningful relationships. But because they don't, they think this is good. Why don't people want to stay in it? And it's like, because other people, that's not their truth. It isn't more about getting in the relationship to be in a relationship. It isn't more about the status and the ego and the image. I'm not willing to sacrifice deep, meaningful, authentic relationships based on truth and love for these things. You might, but that might be because you don't invest in that aspect within yourself anyway. Because you made the free will choice to invest in aligning with your more worldly, egoic nature than maybe being more balanced within yourself and, emotionally growing and maturing yourself and connecting in with your more emotionally intuitive, loving nature. And you just decided, oh, that's just confusing or that's not worth it. I can just use my emotions and my charm and my looks and my sexuality and all those things to get what I want. Well, what they're going to probably end up with is other people, that the people who do keep wanting to be in a relationship with them are other people who are like that. And maybe when they are just in relationships with people who are more like them, they could feel kind of stuck. It's one thing for people who are shadowy to be in a relationship with someone who's loving and nurturing and just and fair and encouraging. But now they're going to have to be in a relationship with someone more like them who's creating the illusion that that's their type of person they are, but not really. It's just the illusion of being loving and encouraging and supportive, kind of like they are. But because they're so motivated by these things of the world, and if it has those things of the world, they might be willing to stay in it anyway, because those things kind of have a stranglehold on them. And that's how they chose to manifest their life. Being in relationships more for the pride, the ego, and image, not willing to detach from their more worldly view of life, even though they might kind of feel a little backstabbed and stuck and stressed. By worldly standards, it looks good, so they'll probably keep moving forward in it. So there you go, Capricorn. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.